pretty important week for the president between his first major network interview in months and his meetings with international leaders at that summit, as domestic headaches continue to mount for him as well. Let's bring in tonight's Bream Team panel to debate. Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and Tag Strategies VP Aaron Perini. Great to have you back.
Thank you, Shannon. Good to be
Okay, so I want to play a little bit more of the president talking to Jimmy Kimmel. Here's what he says. So, Aaron, Republicans play dirty, Democrats don't, because our democracy is in danger if they do.
It's just not attached to reality. And if you continued on that clip there with Joe Biden, he finishes it by joking around about how he should lock up those who politically disagree with him. So, want to talk about democracy being saved? Let's talk about locking up political opponents. That Jimmy Kimmel Open featured actually both you and I, Shannon, when we were talking about different things that have happened, but specifically whether or not Jimmy is the right format for this kind of interview with the president. To your point, we have an inflation crisis, a border crisis, a crime crisis, a drug crisis, and he's on there palling around, not taking it seriously because, again, the Biden administration sees everything as a communications failure, that they just need to show more of who Joe is, and that it's not a policy failure exacerbated by Democrats. Tonight's another example of them being completely out of step with the American people.
Well, an opinion piece in the Boston Herald hits on some of those things you talked about, Aaron. It says it's Biden's first network sit-down interview in 118 days since a Super Bowl interview with NBC that imploded when Biden couldn't answer some basic questions from host Lester Holt. American voters who go to the polls this fall for the midterm elections are fed up with the rising cost of living and driving, and Biden has been unable to get it under control. Biden's reportedly incensed that his aides have been forced to walk back his off-the-cuff comments. So, Leslie, does this interview tonight calm some of those things, help the president who says he needs to be out there more, and it's about messaging?
It is about messaging. I mean, look, I think this was a smart move by the White House, and this is why. You have a fall off of young voters, and you really want young voters to get out there who register more as independents than Democrats than they do as Republicans, and you want them to get out there, especially in the midterms where my party, Democrats, do not show up. Yesterday here in California was an example of that, and some other places. But I think this was very smart. Years ago, a lot of people laughed at a guy named Bill Clinton for playing saxophone in Arsenio Hall. And President Clinton became President Clinton. But when we look at Joe Biden, people were criticizing him for not being out there. And one could argue more people, especially young adults and young voters, would tune in to Jimmy Kimmel more than they would to Lester Holt. This shows a different side of the president, and somebody who is constantly being mocked for his age maybe gives a more youthful side to him and a more humorous side to him, because Jimmy Kimmel is a comedian. And I don't think if this is the only interview he does in the next 118 days, then I'd have a problem with that. But I think it's good to have it on the circuit.
Okay, so he also said today, the president on Wednesday said that global inflammatory issues and pressures, inflation, I think is probably what that is referring to. Anyway, he says it's been made worse by Putin's brutal and unprovoked war against Ukraine. He says it's making harder for families to make ends to meet. He said all these factors are contributing to increased migration flows as well. So he says basically, Aaron, it's not his policies that are sparking any of this, and a lot of it is out of his control.
Well, gosh forbid that Joe Biden take accountability for anything that his policies have caused. We've seen time and again where when Joe Biden announces what he's going to do, like the fact that they want to do away with Title 42, a measure to help expel people more quickly from the southern border, you're seeing larger caravans. And on this meeting of the Americas that are coming up, the Summit of the Americas, Mexico's not coming. You want to talk about the migration crisis and the real things that are happening in this part of the globe, you need people to show up. But our allies don't take us seriously. Our enemies are emboldened. And geopolitically, Joe Biden has been a disaster throughout his presidency. Afghanistan, Russia, Ukraine, you name it. He's been on the wrong side of it. So nobody's going to take this seriously. That's why they aren't showing up.
Let me get Leslie in for a quick final comment. Leslie, against this, ABC News Ipsos poll finds that the president is underwater on nearly every issue, from inflation, economic recovery, gas prices, all kinds of things. The American public disagree with his performance. Quick final word to you.
Yeah, yes, and we have seen, like in Quinnipiac's numbers, as well. We have seen numbers like this at the beginning of April, at the beginning of January. Polls go up and down. Does it mean I'm not nervous about the midterms? Of course I am, especially because my party is in power. But you know, the American people have a right to be angry, and even the president himself has said, "I know they're going to blame me, and they're going to blame the party in power."
Yeah.
That's factual, whether it's a Democrat or Republican,
Yeah.
and whether the president is actually to blame or not.
Yeah, we know historically you are right. It does happen to either party. Leslie and Aaron, thank you. See you both again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.